Well, thank you for staying with us. There is only a few days left until tax season is officially over. Here to bring you the best advice on how to prepare your returns. Here joining us in the studio, we welcome now financial expert Jonathan Ortiz, who's here with us, and good to have you.
Thank you very much for having me here today.
Hey, listen, it's just about a little 2 weeks away. People are still trying to figure it out. And let's get down to some real tips because, for those people who are in the crunch and still have not yet got their taxes done yet, what advice do you have?
I think the most important tax advice at the moment is finding the right tax preparer. You can have all the deductions you want, all the possible incentives from the government, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the person who's preparing your taxes. We're seeing an influx right now where there's a lot of fraud going on. What exactly does that mean? That means that the person who's preparing your taxes a lot of times does not have your best interest at stake for them. I've had a lot of cases recently where you would go in expecting a $2,000-$3,000 refund, and here they're telling you you're getting $8,000 back. How is that possible?
Right.
What ends up happening in reality is that, especially in the low-income communities, we have a lot of people who don't. This is their biggest amount of money that they're going to get in lump sum in the year, right? So they'll go to Freddie, the neighborhood tax accountant. Freddie only opens his office from January through April. He makes as much money as he can, then he goes to the Caribbean for the next 8 months. Leaves his rent paid and everything, but he preys on the small, the regular person that walks into his office and pays him X amount of money to get the maximum tax refund. That's illegal. If you go to a free place, a place that sponsored by the city, by the government, or even if you do your taxes online, you should get the same amount of a refund or for what you owe, you're expected to owe by a tax preparer. There should not be any discrepancies there.
So when you get there and you find this out, you see somebody that says, "Hey, I'm going to get about double what my refund is." Is that a red flag? Take my tax returns and go?
Yes, you should definitely walk away. If you know you only made $10,000 last year and you're getting a $15,000-$20,000 refund, you should really consider, reconsider who you're doing your taxes with. Unfortunately, the people that they deal with are a lot of times they're not people that are very, financial savvy. So, there's like, oh wow, free money. And at the end of the day, a tax refund is not free money. This is money that the government actually owes you because you overpaid them. So, so it's just one of those things that we always have to look at. And I'm always telling my clients, listen, if you're going to their office and they're giving you X amount of money and you think it's too much, walk away, tell them, you know what, I gotta seek advice from someone else and make sure you're getting the right numbers.
Is there anything special about this year's compared to last year tax-wise?
Right now, no, it's pretty much the same. Everything's going to change this year for next year. But other than that, it's pretty much it's been the same. I think it's just an increase in the number of cases where there's a lot of fraud going on, a lot of phishing scams where people are emailing you or calling you, telling you, hey, listen, you owe a collection account, and here you are, scared, that you're going to get scammed, or not scammed, and you're paying these people money. Usually they prey on the elderly. And they go from there.
What are some of the things that should also be avoided? We talked about, if somebody's having multiple dollars in returns, but what are some of the other things that should be avoiding?
Yes, making sure that whoever's preparing your taxes is not leaving their papers around. I think that's something that needs to absolutely be avoided. If you go to a tax preparer's place, and I'm going straight for the tax preparers because privacy and, identity theft is a big issue in the United States. It's probably one of the biggest issues across the board, and, just alongside with, with homicides and, any criminal activity. You go to your tax preparer, he's getting all your information, and then he leaves it on the desk. I walk in to do my taxes, and I'm like looking at, someone else's taxes right there. I'm able to take down their information, go home and apply for credit cards and get them in debt. And those are the type of things that I feel, right now are really, really important when you're, when you're filing the taxes. Other than that, when it comes to deductions and things of that nature, those things are, when it comes to finances, they're standard practice. So, anyone who you're dealing with, right, whoever's managing your taxes, should have a good protocol and a good way of helping you file your taxes with those things on.
Give some advice to somebody out there who owes. Everybody talks about getting money back, but there's a lot of people who owe, and it's an uncomfortable feeling, particularly in an economy right now where a lot of people are struggling financially. What do I do if I owe and I simply can't afford to pay what I owe right now?
Exactly. If you're one of those people that will either file an extension or file taxes, just file them and figure out a payment plan with them. Because if you don't file by the deadline, you might be paying 5 to 10 times the amount of money you would be paying in penalties.
Mm-hmm. So it's easy to just go ahead and just file.
You might as well file because they're going to catch you anyway.
Well, people ask the question. I mean, when you talk about agreements and making those kind of agreements and negotiations, they hear that the IRS is such a hardball, but they are willing to negotiate.
They are willing to negotiate. And I've had a lot of clients that have been able to engage in something called offers and compromise, where you're able to make a payment that makes sense. That's based on your income, based on your discretionary income. And I think that a lot of times it just comes down to the individual person's discipline. It's just like paying down debt. A lot of people, it's not that they can pay down the debt. It's just that they don't have the discipline to pay down the debt or engage in those payment plans.
And so for people who are 55 and older, anything to worry about this year? Anything to know?
At the moment, no. I think they should still file. A lot of them, I think that's one of the demographics that don't file taxes. They tell them, oh, my only income is coming from Social Security. Why should I file? A lot of you have a lot of expenses. You have medical bills. You might have pharmaceutical bills, and a lot of them might be they might be able to get your deduction here and there. You might get a little bit of a refund back. And
so deductions right now are something that everybody is looking for. The earned income tax credit. Is that going to change going forward?
It will be changing, but not. It will be changing. Is it for the better, for the worse? We will find out. Everyone's skeptical. Everyone's like, what's going on? For the most part, I think most people right now are a little bit happy with the current financial situation in terms of their take-home pay because it's slightly increased in the month of February. Will that be a factor next January? We shall find out when that time comes.
And for students who are out there and they have to file their taxes, teenagers have to go out and file their taxes. Your advice to them?
I think they should file. A lot of them, have interest. That they paid interest on their student loans. They spend a lot of money on books. Those are things that they might be able to deduct on their income tax.
And do parents? What about parents of students?
Absolutely, absolutely. If your child is in school, right, and you're spending X amount of money on them, you should definitely include them in your taxes. Unless, of course, they're making a lot of money, and then in that case, they should, do it on their own. So if they're, 21 years old, have a $500,000, company going on, they should do their own taxes.
Right.
But if you're living under mom and dad's, and they're taking care of you for the most part, your parents should be claiming you.
And so, final advice going into these last couple of days, because if somebody's up against the wire and I don't have all my paperwork together, I might be worried about, hey, I might not make the deadline. Give me, what do I do?
I think you should, well, first of all, get as much paperwork as you can. Number two, do two things. One, go on TurboTax, go on one of those websites that you could do your taxes for free, and see if you could maneuver through the website. A lot of times I find that a lot of people think it's really, really scary to do it online. It's really actually easy. It's just a matter of you inputting data. It's just simple data entry. And if you get a number that makes sense, go ahead and file, right? If you feel comfortable with it, right? If you're not comfortable, get a professional. Not someone that your uncle recommended to you. Get someone that's actually by the books, and then go from there and file your taxes. I think the point is filing taxes, filing on time, and going from there.
All right, Jonathan, thanks so much for coming and sharing with us. Bring us this tax advice. Of course, the tax deadline April 17th, and you need to make sure you get your taxes in before then. If not, you definitely face the risk of penalties and fees, and you don't want to pay extra there. All right, taking a quick break. Got more open with us. Stay right with us. Come right back.